Hello, world. Welcome back to another episode of Let Them See Your Mind. It's your girl, Elda Marie, and thank you so much for joining us on today. Thank you for giving me so much love in my previous video, and if this is your first time here, welcome. So, if you just do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share this video across the internet globes, that would be great. On YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and Google. Make sure that you tell your friends, make sure you tell your loved ones that your girl is providing you gems on this channel. So today we are talking about after the registration. What happens after you get your social work registration? You get the job. So prior to me going into getting my social work registration, I was applying for jobs. I was looking and trying to get those types of things. And then I found out within my job search that I needed to get the social work visa. Not social work visa, the social work registration. Once I got that and I explained that whole process in my previous video, now we are looking for the job. Once we are looking for the job, a lot of the things that I was looking for, and we're going to talk about the three places that I look for. I went to agencies, I went to LinkedIn, and I also went to Indeed. There were three main places that I looked in order to get the job that I was previously at, and then we can talk about how I got this job as well. But that's another video for a different day. So, for me getting the initial job here in the United Kingdom, I looked in those three places. And so let's talk about agencies. During that time, mind you, I was in the COVID area. And so not a lot of people were giving Americans jobs outside the country because it was COVID. And so the HC route wasn't really available to me at the time. I did look out to other agencies and tried to get jobs, but it just never panned out for me during that time. So I looked at just different agencies and I came across these agencies so I Google searched like Social Work UK, and when I was doing those searches I would get multiple jobs and everything else, but I didn't know exactly what each job entailed. I just knew it was a social worker. And so when I was looking and I was applying, I wasn't hearing back. I saw the numbers. I was like, okay, so what am I doing wrong? And then I finally got an invitation to go to a virtual recruitment event for one of the local authorities here in London. It was Council. And so it was a virtual recruitment event. And at the recruitment event, when I asked a question about international candidates, which majority of us were on there as an international candidates, they politely told us that at this point they're not accepting international candidates, but we will keep your application in the meantime. However, that didn't really work for me. However, during those events, I did look and got a couple allies. I got Tori, and then I also another person who was a big sister of mine, and that's when we got together and started networking and seeing what different jobs that we wanted to do. But the main thing was when I was doing agencies, I couldn't get anything. But that is a resource that you can look into of different agencies that do different things. But the problem is when you're going to an agency, you have to make sure that you are looking for permanent positions as an American or as anyone that's coming into this country. You need to look for a permanent position, not an agency position, because they're two different things. And we can discuss that on a different video. So, with that, I did look at agencies, and the next thing I looked at was LinkedIn. And so, how I got connected and doing those types of things with other social workers, LinkedIn was a good source for me to look for other social workers that was within the United Kingdom that had their jobs, and then there were jobs that were being promoted on LinkedIn during that time. So I was looking at LinkedIn and applying through LinkedIn processes, but my main source was Indeed. Indeed was was like me and Indeed were besties during that time. And I would be filling out applications, and I would be filling out those types of questionnaires. Didn't really understood what the job entailed. And I've told this multiple times on different versions. I never really understood the job titles until I actually got over here, what a social worker does. And so I was just applying because I just needed my foot in the door. That's all I wanted. I just wanted my foot in the door. That's what my main goal was, just to get my foot in the door, and then I can kind of figure it out from there. But I highly urge you to take the time out to look at what different sectors that you would want as a social worker coming over to the United Kingdom, what you would like to do. Because a lot of times what they do with international candidates, they'll throw you in the assessment team because you have very much experience with assessments depending on what your job was entailed. So they'll throw you into assessment teams, and that's one of the more difficult teams here in the United Kingdom because you're always on the go, especially the team that I was in during that time. And very much very draining, on the go, all that kind of great stuff. And people tend to move out of those areas, and that's kind of where their base was. But I didn't know that at the time. I literally just came and took the job that was offered to me. So I had 3 interviews during that time. And those 3 interviews, the third one I got the job. But ultimately I was doing that, switching from LinkedIn, switching from Indeed, and then there was an opportunity where I did get in touch with an agency, a recruiter, and talked for a little bit, but it never really panned out. And so with those 3 things helped me land the job that I had, including having the social work registration, because that's the most important thing to have in order, so you can just, once you have the job, you can literally just start by your process of moving over across the pond and doing that. But those were the main 3 things, and the main 3 tools that I use in order to get everything situated in order to get my job after I got my registration. And so once those 3 interviews kind of came out, my first one, I didn't really do too well. I mean, I've been out of work for months at the time, and I haven't really done an interview since 4 years prior to that. So I was out of practice. So the first interview did not go any well because I couldn't really articulate what I could bring to the table. The second interview went really well. I thought it was something that they can think about and everything else. Then my third interview, it was really rocky, but ultimately I felt like I had a very, very strong interview, and fortunately I got the job at my third interview. I got the job, and I had a very controversial answer with one of the questions while talking into that interview. And the question was in regards to the state of social work and what we need to focus on as social workers. And it kind of got political when I said money was one of them and diversity was another one. And I was talking about diversity as the Black social worker in a room with 3 white social workers doing that. But mind you, I was coming into an area where 95% of the population was white British to be exact. And so there wasn't a chance for diversity to be within that space. Mind you, of course, diversity helps, but diversity wasn't like a main thing or a main priority within that area because, I mean, most of the people don't even look like you. So they want someone that looks like them, especially during those lovely microaggressions when I was working in that particular area. But overall, I got the job. And that's where it kind of started. After I got the job, that's when everything kind of rolled into play. And those are some of the things that I looked after and for. And it's very much important when you are looking for a job in the United Kingdom that you kind of understand what you're looking for, like match your skills in order to match what the criteria is. So like with the different things that happen here, there's assessment teams, there's intervention teams, there is what I'm currently doing now, which is like delegation MASH teams, where you're working with multidisciplinaries and you're coming together to make a decision very fast and in a hurry. Then you also have children that are in the system, you have fostering, you have children that are looked after, you also have children with disabilities. There are a whole bunch of different sectors within social work, and there are different teams that are related to a local authority that you want to know exactly where you want to be in order so you won't be miserable. I mean, in a sense, you won't be miserable. And there's also other avenues where you can get into mental health, but it won't be necessarily the same as it would be in America. But those are different avenues and different social work entities that you can get into while you're in the United Kingdom. Now, I may be putting my foot in my mouth, but I know majority of the time from my experience, I have seen social workers that are within the local authority specter and private fostering specter, and that's basically it. And then also the court system, where they are doing public and private proceedings when it comes to child arrangement orders and those types of things. So those are the spectrums that I've gotten so far, as far as something in mental health that's more on the adult side. And so it's not related to children, it's more related to adults. And that's a difference in itself, where if you are looking for a job, you need to ensure that if you're looking at to be a children's social worker, or you're looking to be an adult social worker, because they're two different fields. But I mean, of course, all adults are just mini children. So you have to, there's different rules to play, there's different things that come about when it comes to those two sectors. And research is very much important to identify where you want to go into. Because what I did, I literally I just looked at the criteria and I kind of just went there. But the job that I did have when coming over here, it was a blanket job. So they could have put me anywhere based on my resume. So they chose to put me in what is called a CAS team, where a CAS team does everything. And some people call it over here a locality team. So where you are start to finish with that case, from assessment to intervention, from court to not court, from everything to closure. So those are the type of cases that I was doing within the last local authority that I was working in. And it was the biggest shock in the world to come into that type of team not knowing what to do and how to do it. And so that's why it's very important to make sure that you research and understand what is being asked of you before you make the jump and say, this is what I want to do and this is what I'm going to do it. Because of course, half your life is going to be work and half your life is going to be playtime and social time, where you can see all the different places and travel and drink nice food. Well, not drink, eat nice food, drink nice drinks, all that kind of great stuff. But you have to remember that you have to fund your life in order to have a life. So those are the different things that I learned in the process of coming after getting my registration and getting the job. My next video that's going to be happening is going to be the process of preparing the move from that point on. And I'm very excited to dive into that type of process where I prepared my move. We talked about qualities of moving over here. We talked about support networks, but we didn't really talk about the move that came over here and what that process was like. And I'm gonna further explore that down the line in a part of my realities of moving across the pond series. But for this particular topic, getting the social work job is making sure that you understand what job you're getting, where you're getting it, and how you get it. And those three things that we discussed, as far as going with agencies, looking at LinkedIn, or looking at Indeed. What are some other places that you, as far as other American expats or other social workers that tune into my channel, where was some of the things that you looked into? What was the other different avenues that you looked into in order to get your job, whether it be in the United Kingdom or in a different part of the world? Because that's what it is. Because there's different parts in different countries. And right here is specifically the United Kingdom. Others are maybe an entirely different process. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me on this episode today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. Also click the bell in order to make sure that you are linked into all of the episodes that come across to this channel. Make sure that you like and subscribe to all of my audio channels, whether it be Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, or Google. Whatever your listening prefers, we are there and we are here to have a discussion. Thank you so much for joining me, and we are out.